Take two.
Take two?
Take the dos.
Take Westeros?
Westerdos.
Westerdos.
Hi, everybody.
Dun 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 dun. What does the fox say?
Hey.
I think it worked better the first time. Anyway, it's the podcast Doom Spoilercast!
Episode 6. This fucking show.
This fucking show.
Unbowed, Unbroken, Unbent, whatever.
Unbent, Unbroken.
I can't even right now. I'm so over... This show just fucking kills me every time.
Every time.
You know,
it punches you right in the testicules.
This episode was Captain Buzzkill.
It was. It definitely put a damper on everything. You get to see the Dude Bros.
Yeah. The Jamie and Bronn being the Dude Bros invading Dorne was fun.
Kind of fun.
Brand new character gets the best line in the history of this show.
Yes, that happened as well.
The dwarf lives until we find a cock merchant. Apparently, there are cock merchants in Essos.
Yeah, apparently.
And it's a thing that's known well enough that they're assuming they're going to find one wherever they go.
You know, I don't know if I ever really would want to meet a cock merchant.
It's one of those things. They're like, so they're going to go to Marine because they're going to convince Jorah and Tyrion convince the slavers that have picked them up that Jorah's a great fighter and he'd make them a ton of money in the fighting pits.
Right.
Which saved Jorah from being a galley slave and Tyrion from being decapitated and decocked.
And decocked.
So
decockitated.
He's still going to get decockitated when they get to Marine.
But when they find a cock merchant.
Yeah, but they are implying implicit knowledge that there is, in fact, at least one cock merchant in Marine.
Yes.
There is a person that specializes only in the purchase and sales of cocks.
Right. Of
every variety. And that a dwarf's cock is magical and therefore worth more money.
Right.
So...
Maybe it's like animal cocks that they specialize in. But they also take dwarf cocks because apparently dwarf cocks are magical.
Are animal cocks...
I've heard that lion dick, or is it lion dick or tiger dick, is supposed to help with ED, I guess. I don't know. I've heard some really crazy shit in my day.
Yeah, I got news for those people. If you can't get it up in the presence of an actual flesh and blood woman, grinding up a tiger dick and then
snorting it
or consuming it, I don't think it's going to do anything for you.
It is Tyrion Lannister we're talking about.
Yes. The dwarfiest of all cocks. Or the cockiest of all dwarfs. Yeah.
I think it's the second one. Yes. I think it's the cockiest of all dwarfs.
Yes. But, so that's happening over there. That was basically, we saw them. Tyrion was kind of the bearer of bad news for Jorah.
That was a little harsh.
Relating to him that his father died after a mutiny. And poor Jorah, you can see his face. He's like... He never hated his dad, but, he obviously was, caught selling slaves and was kind of, shamed and ran away. But, yeah, hearing your dad died because of a mutiny is fucking rough.
Well, just hearing your dad died in general, he didn't know. The look on his face was just like,
Yeah, those few moments he was processing, and you see Tyrion for who he really is, too, and he's like, I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry.
Like, Tyrion's such a nice guy. He came from such a shitty family. I fucking hate Cersei. She is fucking with people she should not be fucking with. Yeah. She apparently is just going all out assault on the fucking Tyrells for reasons? I mean, I can't...
For trying to steal her baby boy from her.
Apparently for doing the thing that they were supposed to do, which was unify their families and therefore provide the bulk of the troops, gold, and food for the kingdom. But yet, Cersei wants to basically throw them all in prison for land, just for what's his name? I'm
horrible with names in this show.
Damn it! Why can't I think of his name right now? Loras. For Loras being gay. The fucking Inquisition is all up in this shit. He was imprisoned by them, we saw. And then they held a little meeting where he lied, and then they called Marjorie, and she lied. And then they called in the Squire, who, for reasons, was completely honest about their relationship. And now Marjorie and Lors are both imprisoned. And Cersei
actual trial.
Sitting there just going, fuck everybody.
Fuck everyone. Fuck you.
Her fucking pride is going to be the downfall of everybody.
Of the nation.
And I guess, it's the whole... She does not want anyone else being around her son. She only enjoys fucking her relatives, so I'm not sure how this bodes for Tommen. I have a feeling he's going to be a mama's boy for the rest of his probably short life. So that shit was just... And then she met with Peter Baelish and, kept trying to fucking outwit him, and he was already 5 steps ahead of her. He let her know that Sansa's alive and marrying Ramsay Bolton. And then, of course, she's like, oh, the Boltons! I want to kill all of them! Rah! He's like, well,
Your uncle could amass an army.
Yeah. Oh, no, she's like, no, I already fuck that guy. Well, what about Jaime? Fuck that guy, too.
Yeah, he's on a diplomatic mission.
Yeah, so Peter's like, well, I'm the Lord of the Vale. I guess I'll muster my army. She's like, you're not a military man. He's like, well, then what do you care if I die? I'm just a whoremonger.
Right.
And then he's like, but if in exchange, after the Boltons and Stannis beat the shit out of each other and I clean up the mess, I'm Warden of the North. Fucking games inside games here.
Baelish is always running something, man.
He's running something. He's running many somethings with everybody at the same time. You see that look when fucking Lancel and the Sparrows confronted him? He's like...
He's like, I have a meeting with the Queen Mother.
She's like, Lancel's like, things have changed here. Peter's like, bitch, get the fuck out of my face.
He's like, we do not like flesh peddlers. That's what he calls them.
Yeah, and Baelish gives him a look, and it's like, you are so out of your depth, boy.
You have no idea.
It's like, I remember you fucking your auntie. Do these guys know about that?
Right.
Because that could be trouble if it got up to the High Sparrow. Shit. Oh my god, shit. I just thought about that. What happens with Cersei's fucking laundry gets aired out?
That's true.
And High Sparrow has already proven he's going to lock up the Queen's brother and the Queen.
Yeah, right.
You think he's going to give a fuck about the Queen Mother?
That would be interesting.
She's sitting there with that fucking troll face of hers and all of a sudden flips.
That would be very interesting.
Please.
That would be extremely interesting.
To any god that is listening, please wipe that smirk off Cersei's face and throw her ass in prison. In fucking holy prison or whatever it is. Dang. Oh, just thinking about her face in that scene is just making me fucking angry.
Well, speaking of faces, we also got to see a little bit more with Arya.
You got to see Arya's face.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, her education is continuing. In that she realizes that she really can't do anything that she thinks she can do. She can't lie for shit. Which was a great scene where, I guess we call him Jockin still. It's not his real name, but the guy, the man, the man in white, is asking her questions about herself, and every time she lies, he fucking whips her. And things that she was lying to herself about, like that she hated the Hound. And every time she said I hated him, he'd whip her ass harder. So that was interesting that, he's like, you lie to me, you lie to the gods, you lie to yourself. Girl lies to herself.
Girl lies to herself.
It's like, great scene. Then the other girl schools her on how to really lie, and then she takes all that, into training montage style.
And lies to a little girl.
Yeah, and another fucking super bummer scene. This dad brings his daughter who's super sick, always in pain, and he's like, he's already spent all his money on every healer, nothing works, so he wants to put her out of her misery. She doesn't realize that's what they're there for. So Arya lies to her face, saying, I was sick too. My father brought me here. I drank this water and it healed me, and now I dedicate my life to serving the many-faced God. And then Arya gets the girl to drink the suicide water and becomes Arya Kevorkian.
And then the next scene, she's cleaning the dead body of Sigurd.
Yeah. And then the man in white takes her down finally to the next room where the bodies go, and it's a ginormous fucking cavern, like Lord of the Rings sized dwarven city cavern with all these giant round columns with all the bodies in them face out. So as you're walking along, there's just rows of faces just staring at you. And then he says to her, a girl is not ready to become no one, but she's ready to become someone else. So she's going to start learning the old face switcheroo, I think.
Probably.
So that's
Which is kind of weird when you think about it. They're actually switching faces.
Well, that's the thing. That's what they do with all the dead bodies. They
turn them into masks.
I don't know. I don't even think that. I think it's like a magic or a glamour or something. But they take faces they know that don't exist in the world anymore. People that came to this temple, you weren't really anybody noteworthy or high profile.
Right.
Most of them were just, the sickly or the poor or whatever. So you take their faces and then you blend into the crowd because you have such a common, no nondescript face.
Right. I guess that makes sense.
So, I mean, that's how they are able to kind of flow through the world and, never really get noticed because they look like just another random person.
Yeah.
So, which means then somewhere in that fucking chamber of scary staring faces, the man in white, the face he wears is Jock in the car. That face is probably in there somewhere. There's actually a body. That's not his real face.
Right.
That's not a man is no one.
Right.
So that was cool. I really liked those scenes.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And then, Dorn.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Dorn.
The Sand Snakes made their move on the water garden. Marcella's making out with her intended. They're getting along like little peas in a pod. They really like each other.
They do really like each other.
It was like gross teen makeup romance. And then it got ruined by everybody. The Sand Snakes show up. Bronn and Jamie show up. They have a fight. And then Ariel Hota and all his men show up and break up the fight.
Now, I gotta say, I had really high expectations for the Sand Snakes. Because, you talked them up a lot, and then they talked them up a lot in the show. And then I was really underwhelmed with the whole fight scene, between the three of them and Jamie and Bronn. I was just kind of like, this is like the worst fight scene I've seen in the show so far.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't a bad fight scene, I wasn't overwhelmed, I was just whelmed with it, you know what I mean?
I was just whelmed.
That's a good way to put it, I think.
I like the fact that the one chick with the whip kept would just switch back and forth, whichever whichever one of them, Bronn or Jamie, might be getting the upper hand, all of a sudden found themselves wrapped in a whip.
Right.
And they had to free themselves from it. But yeah, it definitely felt like the Sand Snakes here are not as... And granted, in the books, it's a bit different.
Right,
there's
not all 7 of them,
and then not all of them are fighters too.
Right.
There's only a handful that are fighters, and they all have their own kind of specialties. So yeah, the show looks like it kind of condensed them all into these 3, and they're kind of generic still right now. Right.
Well, we didn't really have much. We've gotten this is the second time we've seen them, and the second time we've seen them, we see the, you know what I mean? It was just kind of I think that was the problem. I think it was kind of we saw him out there, and then she had the speech about her spear.
Yeah.
And this whole was they're gonna be amazing fighters.
Yeah.
And then the fight was just kind of eh.
On the other hand, though, I mean, they held their own against Jaime Lannister and Bronn, who are no slouches when it comes to combat.
I guess that's true too.
Even one-handed Jaime Lannister is still, not to be overlooked.
Right.
And Bronn, we've seen from the show, can take anybody of any style.
Right.
And the 3 of them were never at a disadvantage. It was a pretty even fight.
Right.
But yeah, the choreography was kind of weird. But it felt like neither side was going all out. Both of them were holding back.
Right.
So, because I think the location and the fact that none of them wanted to stick around for a bloodbath, all of them were trying to get the fuck out of there with Marcella.
I guess that's true. I'll give you that.
After Tristan got punched in the face for being smart mouthed and drawing a sword on Bronn, and Bronn just clocked his ass.
Okay, and he's like, "Don't make this messy, son." And he pulls the sword. He's like, "All right." He's
like, "Don't be stupid."
Well, don't do anything stupid. And then he pulls the sword. He's like, "Well, okay, you get punched in the mouth for that."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I was just kind of whelmed by it. It wasn't a great, like I said, it wasn't bad per se. It just wasn't what I was expecting it to be.
I'm waiting for the chance. Hopefully, we get a chance to see Ario Hota cut loose with that giant fucking halberd of his.
Yeah,
because he's a big deal in the books. Although he has an axe, I'm not sure if that's an axe or it looks more like a polearm.
He says you haven't used your axe in a while, so
it's an interesting.
Technically, probably like a polearm or.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting looking axe, but yeah, in the books, he's a big deal with that axe. Like, he's like fucking the G. He's the OG.
He's the OG.
He's killed a lot of people.
Right.
So,
I don't know. It's kind of one of those. It's interesting to see what's going to happen. I'm more interested to see what's going to happen to Jamie and Bronn than I care about the Sand Snakes at this point. The thing
is, I have a feeling that they're probably going to be fine because once Prince Doran is like, okay, you guys are here, you wanted to get her out because you feared correctly
for her life.
Yeah. But he's like, I wish you would have trusted me that I don't want to fuck this up either.
Right.
So I have a feeling it's going to be like an uneasy kind of relationship that gets built there, that maybe Jamie ends up being like, okay, I think maybe she's okay here, but well,
it's one of those things like the Sand Snakes. Like, if we didn't see them again, like if they never were on screen again, it would make perfect sense. Like and I think that's kind of why I was like, why did we even need this mini story? You know what I mean? This like 2 scene, like, I don't know. It was one of those. It felt really rushed, and it was just kind of like. We'll see what happens, I guess, with them.
We'll see them again, I think. I feel like they have more sympathizers out there than we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine staying in an alliance with the Lannisters as popular.
Right. Among
the Dornish. It's obviously the most logical thing to do because, fuck fighting a war.
Right.
Although... If they hear about what's happening with the Tyrells, then maybe they're like, well, maybe we'll just preemptively be like, fuck you, and start fighting. So, Cersei might have kind of fucked that up, too.
Right.
Because she fucks up everything.
Yeah, Cersei does kind of fuck up everything.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I have a feeling there's going to be some interesting scenes with Jaime and Bronn and Doran and Ario kind of just feeling each other out.
I did really want to hear the end of Bronn's song. But
the end of Bronn's song. Selling the end. He kept selling about the Dornish wife.
Yes, about the Dornish wife.
But, at the same time, there's no ending that I'll ever be able to live up to it now. So
that's true.
It's probably best that they did. Because what could possibly match the hype now?
Right, exactly. I just love. He's like the song really is all about the ending.
Jimmy's like, meh.
Shut up! I don't want to hear people to hear your accent.
And that's the thing too. They walk in the water gardens. I'm like, man, look at these two crackers just walking in wearing these Dornish soldier uniforms, riding their horses.
Yeah.
And then they try to sneak off while riding horses. So the horse starts doing that little like fancy canter. I'm like, oh, that's adorable, Jaime.
That's so funny. They did have their masks on when they first went into where she was at.
Yeah.
Before they took them off, and I was like, Uncle Jaime, but.
Why is it whenever somebody comes in this show, like in TV in general, like a relative of yours, like a close relative, has clearly risked their life to come and say, come with me quick, you always stop and go, what? No!
Why? What's going on?
It's like, what?
Explain to me everything that's going on right this second.
It's like, are you fucking serious? Okay, it's your uncle, one of the most notorious and hated people in the kingdom, has snuck his ass in here to grab you,
wearing guard outfits from
covered in blood.
Covered in blood.
And you want to sit there and play 20 questions like, I'm not going with you until you tell me what's going on.
There's nothing wrong. No one wants to kill me in this city.
It's like, are you fucking insane? Everybody wants to kill you. You're a Lannister.
Well, they're stupid.
Or a Baratheon. Whatever. God.
Same difference.
Shit. At this point, does anyone even really fucking...
Right.
Does anyone
even fucking matter.
It's like a formality. Oh, yeah, Marcella Baratheon.
So they get caught. So the Sand Snakes and the chick that's...
Yeah.
Her name's sister. She gets caught, too.
The widow. Oberyn's paramour. Yeah, that's why she's like hanging out in her little lair, and then like 80 guards come in, and they look at her face. She's just like, shit.
Son of a bitch, that did not work.
Yeah.
That was the opposite of working. That was not working.
Yes, the opposite of working.
So yeah, that was what happened in Dorne.
I guess that leaves one thing.
It does, in fact, leave one thing. Let's go back to Winterfell.
I don't want to go to Winterfell anymore.
I don't want to go to Winterfell.
Winterfell's where all my dreams die.
It's cold up there. I can understand dreams dying up there.
That's Danny, just stop. Just don't.
Stop. Let's discuss.
Not this week.
Not this week.
Sansa Stark is now a Bolton.
She is now married to the Boltons.
She's Sansa Bolton.
That's very true.
So yeah, they have their little ceremony. They did it in the Godswood, which I guess is nice. You know, change of pace from the usual halls where people get massacred. And it goes off without a hitch. Theon gives her away. Of course, he's very conflicted about everything.
Well, when he goes to get her from her chamber, he's like, "You have to take my arm," and she's like, "I will never touch you." He's like, "You must take my arm or he'll punish me."
Do you think I care what happens to you? And he's like, "Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, nobody cares about Theon."
I'm Rick and Theon at the same time.
Before that, though, when she gets a bath from Miranda, the kennel dog girl, and which Ramsay sent her to do it because he just likes fucking with everybody's heads. And Miranda's sitting there talking about all the past girls that Ramsay's with that he killed because they were boring. And Sansa just straight up looks at her and goes, "Yeah, how long you loved him? I don't give a fuck. This is my home and you're not going to scare me. Get out.
Get the fuck out."
And Miranda's like, Well, she does. She gets out. She just walks away.
She gets the fuck out.
It's one of those things you're like, yeah, I think you're in deeper waters than you thought you were here, Miranda. This Sansa Stark isn't like just some like little sheltered noble's girl, daughter.
She was married to Joffrey, damn it.
She married No, she didn't marry Joffrey.
No, she didn't marry Joffrey.
She was betrothed to him until the Tyrells came along, and then she was happy. Then she got married to Tyrion.
Right.
And which actually, all things considered, was probably the best relationship on the show. The best relationship that started after the show started, I guess.
Right.
And then she fled from that whole shit. But she was basically a prisoner in King's Landing for like a couple of years. Basically every day her life could have ended if on the whim of a fucking prick.
Right.
Named Joffrey.
Right.
And now then she was following around Peter Baelish running for her life, learning, kind of the art of manipulation. So feels pretty confident in her skills. But then it comes to the wedding night. And after the wedding, of course, what always happens? I guess
you gotta consummate the marriage, if you will.
I know it's usually the one things like you should have seen coming, and he's like, okay. And but still, another goddamn rape scene on Game of Thrones. And I understand, obviously, Sansa's not going to be into having sex with Ramsay, but I don't know why. This might be my just naivete. I was like, it's not going to happen to her. Ramsay's just marrying her for the title, but he's going to go off and fuck around with Miranda. And it's going to be like with Tyrion, where Sansa's just left to her own devices. Yeah, no. Not so much. And then Ramsay makes Theon stick around and watch.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And
the whole thing is just ridiculous.
It looks like it's breaking Theon a bit.
It is. It's breaking him more than he already is.
Yeah, I mean, this is a girl that was just like a sister to him for most of his life. And not a sister he fingers either. Right. A sister he actually cared about.
Right.
And so he gets to watch her being raped on her wedding night, losing her virginity to a fucking scummy psychopath that is now like up at Joffrey levels of just detestability. Oh my god. I mean, Ramsay never raped anyone yet with a foreign object. So it's hard to decide because both of them have such fucking negative qualities. Like, who's a bigger shitbag, really?
Right. It's just one of those. This episode just left a bad taste.
Yeah, it's one of the things, like, I can't tell if... Like, people are saying that it's like, it was shocking just for the sake of shock, But it's a logical progression to what's happening here, Unless you're going to have the marriage be called off or broken up somehow.
Right.
This is what's going to happen. This is what does happen in these scenarios. And Sansa wouldn't be immune to that just because she's one of our main characters.
Mm.
If anything, because she's one of our main characters, she's doubly more likely to have something happen to her.
Right.
I'm just happy, I guess, that... It sounds weird, it's like, that was the worst that happened so far. Like, the whole time during the scene, I'm like, I was just in dread, like, constantly tense, like, oh god. This guy's a psycho, this is going to be bad.
Right.
And it kind of reminded me of the Khal Drogo-Daenerys marriage.
Mm. Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't know. I think that Sansa expected it. You know what I mean? And it was weird that he made Rake watch. But I don't know, like, if it wouldn't be... It was rape, because she obviously unwillingly didn't want to do it. But at the same time, she kind of, I think, knew it was going to happen. Yeah. And knew there was nothing she could do about it.
I mean, she wasn't, like, struggling.
It wasn't a violent rape scene. It wasn't... if you didn't see it...
But at the same time, that made it worse, because she just, it was like she had already in her head kind of, like, succumbed. And that she was like, this is not a battle, I'm going to fight. And you're inside, you're like, no, fight. Fuck, please, fight this.
But because she doesn't know what to do at this point. She's trying to figure out what to do.
She does know what to do. And I think she knew that...
this is part of what she has to do.
It was one of the things she accepted, when Peter first told her, you're marrying Ramsay, and she's like, I'm what?
Right.
She knew what was all going to be involved. So I think she'd already kind of resigned herself, or at least known that this was going to be something that's going to have to happen. But so I think she's obviously planned, or at least prepared herself. But it doesn't make it any less just really not easy to watch.
Just uneasy to watch. Yeah.
Because I have a big, obviously I think people listen to this show enough. We know neither of us are, we have issues with like rape and forced sex and stuff like that in general, especially as a storytelling device. Right. And for this, though, I'm kind of on the fence. It's like, I understand that this is where the story was going to have to go, but I don't have to like it. Right. I don't have to like seeing it. I don't have to like seeing Sansa treated that way. Right.
But I think that's the point. The point is to make you feel uneasy. Yeah. And leave you, especially since it was the last thing that happened in the episode, to make you be like, well, where's this going to go now? What's going to happen now? Hasn't Sansa been through enough? That's the big thing. That's the big question. Hasn't she been through enough? Why is she going through this now? Yeah. And I think that's part of the point. I hope to see a turnaround and see something come to fruition of this. You know what I mean? We've seen her rise up and become stronger throughout the series. You know what I mean? Especially even when she was talking to Miranda. She's like, is that supposed to scare me? Are you? This is Winterfell. I'm safe here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Well, and then that talks to the thing. Like, she's got to go through this, but she's safe here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't know. Hopefully it'll play out, and hopefully something's going to happen. We don't know what that thing's going to be yet, but.
Well, we keep, every season we talk about her, and that, she's going to get her retribution. This person wronged her, that person, it's going to happen. One of these, it's one of these days. But it's like the things are piling up now so much, the things that are happening to her. I'm afraid that she's going to break before she has a chance to actually get retribution, and it'll be hollow for her by the time it happens. Like, we said, you said it, she's gone through more than pretty much anyone else on the show. As far as just always being under threat. Of some kind, and not just physically, but like psychologically. Right. She's been in danger basically since the end of season 1, nonstop. A little break there with Peter, but even then, when Lysa was like threatening her,
well, it was even uneasy because we didn't know what Peter's intentions were. We still don't. We still don't know because Peter's a fucking shady bastard. But you know what I mean, like, yeah. It was still a kind of a breath. We knew she was at least safe for the time being. You know what I mean?
I don't know. And I guess...
And now we've put her into hands where she's not again. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like...
There's just something, like, you thought that character maybe was not going to get corrupted, but this feels like corruption seeping in. And you're just like, no, make it all go, make it stop, make it go away. Stannis, where are you? Stannis!
And
save her!
And that is how the episode ended, my friends.
Yeah.
We are definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, especially this episode just left such a bad taste in our mouths.
It was, like we said at the beginning, it was a huge bummer. Just a lot of characters that you like, once again, just getting the shaft constantly. And not the fun shaft like Loris likes. the bad shaft.
The bad shaft.
So, like, you look at it, almost all of our characters are in some kind of dangerous situation now. They're in peril.
Right.
You know. And we didn't see the Wall or Daenerys, but we know Jon's in trouble because he's going to try to make a deal with the wildlings, which is going to totally, probably backfire on him. He's probably going to get mutinied on, just because that seems like this is the Night Watch's thing, is to mutiny on the Lord Commander whenever they do one thing they don't like. Oh, God. I'm already giving myself a goddamn headache thinking about it.
Well, what did you guys think of this episode?
Yes.
Join the discussion. You can always do so by hitting up our website, podcastofdoom.com, where you can find our links to our Facebooks, our personal Twitter feeds, and the podcast Twitter feed. And if you did like the episode, guys, and you haven't listened to the main cast, make sure that you subscribe on Twitter and on Stitcher to make sure you catch every episode of the main cast, along with our new movie review section called The Watch List as well.
Ayo.
Anything else you want to add, do you think, before the end of this episode?
Game of Thrones could use more Mad Max.
It could. That's definitely true. Go check out our Mad Max review. We reviewed that last week. It just came out, and it's a pretty good review. You should go listen to it.
Definitely.
And also, go buy our t-shirts and help support us. We would really appreciate that as well.
Definitely.
All right, guys. I think that's going to pretty much wrap it for this week.
Yep. So, on behalf of Podcast of Doom, then.
Yep.
I'm that guy, Todd.
And I'm Friar Dan.
And you listen or you die.
What does the fox say? Ding, ding.